So, Far Cry 2, real open world.
Real open world, 50 square kilometers of open world, broken into two 25 square kilometer sections, kind of like the islands in GTA if you want. You can't go to the second 25 square kilometers until about a third of the way through the game. We have not yet determined whether we have to dump and load to cross between the two worlds, or whether we can just go straight across the desert that's the sort of boundary between them. If we do have to dump and load, it will be the only loading screen in the game. The entire world is fully continuous all the time. There are no cutscenes, there is no loading. And no mutant powers.
And when dealing with an open world, is it not difficult? What did you do to ensure that the player wouldn't get lost, stranded in the desert, at times even bored maybe because they didn't know what their objectives were? Were those concerns of yours?
Absolutely, they have to be concerns when you're making an open world game. There's a number of features in place that obviously allow us to make that world constantly interesting. Obviously, we have enemies patrolling and all of that kind of stuff, so there's always the potential for chaos and interesting things to happen. There's also a lot of value in exploring. The main sort of collectible, if I should use the word, in the game are conflict diamonds, and you mostly get paid in diamonds for doing missions for the warlords and doing the main missions of the game. You use those diamonds to unlock weapons and equipment and upgrades and all of that kind of stuff in a fairly complicated system, but a large chunk of that diamond economy is found through exploration. On the compass that you have, there's a little green light. Maybe you've seen it in some of the demos. That compass is detecting briefcases in which the diamonds are scattered, and you can use it, by which direction you face and how frequently it's flashing to find these briefcases with diamonds. And also on top of that, obviously the map. I mean, we work really hard. I think the map system is probably the single system we've iterated more times than any other in the game. Redoing the maps for readability, testing them with players, testing them internally, changing the way they work, changing the system behind it again and again and again and again and again. And we think we're finally very, very close to our final iteration. Still some things you haven't seen in the builds we have here today, but I think we've pretty much got that problem solved. The point of the map system is not only to prevent the player from becoming lost, which is we don't want to happen ever, but it's also to keep him in the world. What I really didn't want in a game where we're keeping the player sort of right in the dirt and feeling the dirt under his fingernails and the sweat. We really didn't want him popping out into a nice, clean, safe menu every 90 seconds to check where he was. We wanted to keep the map in game so that he feels like managing that and being in that world is kind of part of what he is. He's tangible and physical.
And that same system is also the same when dealing with conversations in the game.
Yeah. So exactly, we don't take camera control from the player ever. When you're in a briefing with the warlords, don't think of a cutscene like you would see in GTA or something. Think of more like an interactive scene that you would see in Half-Life 2. So you're actually in the space, you're walking around, you have camera control, the characters are talking to you and briefing you, and it's much more dynamic. And we don't take camera control away when you ever. Yeah, we don't.
Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell us very much about this, but day-night cycle, does that mean night exists as in?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've only shown daytime now. It took a lot of effort to get our night to be playable, because quite frankly, when you're in Africa at night, it's pitch black and you can't see anything. Obviously, that's not very fun, so we had to work really hard with the art director, Alex Amancio, to get the night to have a really good feeling of darkness and yet at the same time playable. Night creates all kinds of interesting new strategies. Obviously, it severely impacts the AI's visibility, so it's much easier to be stealthy at night. However, what turns out to be a very interesting repercussion that we noticed immediately was it's actually a lot easier to see the AI at night when you're in a battle because their muzzle flashes are giving them away. So you're running around in what seems to be very dark, and you just see these flashing lights, and it's like shoot the flashing light. It's a really different experience. That's why when you have a weapon like the MP5, which is silent, making it even more stealthy, and it has a flash suppressor on it, you can be a very, very, very dangerous opponent for the enemy if you're playing at night. But there are obviously certain compromises.
Well, we can't wait to see that. Now, just for the record, once again, can you tell us what platforms this game's coming out on?
PC, Xbox 360, and PS3, all simultaneously in the fall.
So you just gave away my next question, so we can look forward to Far Cry 2 in the fall.
In the fall.
All right, well, I'd like to remind everybody that Far Cry 2 is hands-on playable as of today at the Far Cry 2 booth on PC and 360, and a control demo on PS3. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for coming, everybody.